Welcome to Creative Spaces Podcast with Guy Zwick, Chief Creative Officer of Highway 85 Creative. In each episode, we will discuss creative ways to define your space and build your brand.
Welcome to another edition of the Creative Spaces Podcast. I'm Scott. I'm sat across from Guy and his main wingman, Joe. In today's episode, we want to talk about that small 10 by 10 that you had that gets a little bit of, it's not the sexiest piece of booth asset that you have in your company, but it could be the most important that you have. Right?
That's what I think.
So talk to me about
that's what I want to talk about.
Small but mighty. It's something that gets sit in the corner, but it's just some kind of one guy trade show. We don't have to put a lot of thought into it. That's probably not the best way to approach it, right?
No, not at all. In fact, why we're talking about this is I had a deep conversation with somebody who's got about 65 of these 10 by 10 that shows and a couple of booths that travel with salespeople, and it's on a kind of a cruise control, and we're focused in on designing the big booth for the big 3 shows. And this conversation comes up, and I have this play off of the exhibitor show we were at, so it's really in my DNA at the moment. And I think you should be doing the same type of planning and same type of accountability at your smaller shows as your big shows, simply because they might be a better return on your investment. And in many cases, they are a better return. And they looked at me, and it was like, well, think about it. You're going to a large show, an offshoot market, and let's just say from your big one, but what's the attendance? Is it how far off is big? Not that far, but you're the smallest little fish in there. Great. Well, it's the cheapest space. You're sending one salesperson. You don't have any drayage because they're bringing the pop-up along with them.
Right.
Wow, that's a pretty cheap endeavor to go in that same crowd of 30,000 people. You're tucked in the corner and all that. Well, if you're sending the right person, he's got the right or she's got the right plan. You got a cheap ticket, a cheap room. You can set up appointments with other key contacts in that zone, which would have been another traveling trip. You can have them see vendors. You can have them reach out, and it only takes, you got 3 days, let's say, working a show. You're hobnobbing. You set goals of how many leads you want to get, and all of a sudden you got 2 or 3 good leads. And you compare that to the dollars you spend at the big show and all the effort and all the money to get those 80 leads. And then you start doing the numbers and you're like, oh, wow, this is a good return on investment. And then when you put that kind of focus into those 10 by 10s and you make sure you have the right person, the right message, the right swag or giveaway, the right push, I think you'll find that they are a good investment. And I know because I'm a small fish at my trade show and I could buy a bigger space and I don't. And I'm a booth builder, and you think I would want to go bigger is better. Instead, I'm doing more with less and making noise and making my goals and not busting a budget. So that's in a nutshell. I know I just went on a spew so you can get more out of me, but go ahead.
That was actually strong. It's almost like, and Joe had mentioned to me before about, small is mighty. 10 by 10s can be mighty. And what you're saying is, because when you were talking, this is what I'm thinking about. There are some industry trade shows where companies go to, like, well, we can buy 100 by 100, we can buy a 30 by 30, we can probably afford a 10 by 20. And it's all relative, right? But why spend, perhaps? Ask the question, should I spend, $30,000 in a booth rental, shipping, drayage, installation and dismantle, plus whatever rugs and accessories you want for, your ROI takes a big hit right out of the way. And then those are good. You can make good use out of that. But maybe for certain shows, it might be more important to keep the cost very lean. To show up, but with a plan. Don't show up with a crappy 10 by 10. Show up with something that actually says something. Have the right salesperson there that could leverage that asset. And so if that one sales guy and that very lean setup can get 2 or 3 good conversations in one customer, that's the equivalent of having 100 customers at the bigger booth.
There you go. We have a client that used to do this and doesn't now, but here's a good example. They're 10 by 10s. They send the booth. They send the demo unit with the TV and everything that they need.
Right.
They push to do the demo and win the whole software, the computer, the TV, like you take it with you.
Right.
They don't have to bring it back. It's a giveaway.
Oh, wow.
They get a bunch of buzz from it, and it's a he that does these shows, goes and locally sources the Best Buy and all that. He doesn't even ship that stuff.
Right. So smart.
Does it right there, gives it away. They come get it. And yeah, it is smart. And he gets a ton of people on this 10 by 10 booth that you normally wouldn't by just having this like giveaway. Yeah, you get some people in there you're demoing that just want the gift. But
this is
you
tangential.
feeling me?
Yeah, I do. And this is a bit tangential, but I got to say it anyways, is it just makes you – it makes me think of the other points we've made in different podcast episodes where put some thought into why, right? Yeah. If you're going to go, even if it's a 10 by 10 space, why are you going? Who are you trying to reach? What are you trying to show? And then part of that whole planning process is let's go lean. Or no, let's pick it up a little bit, right?
Can I say this is another one? Some people are afraid to set up appointments at a small 10 by 10 booth. Like – the big shows, they have no problem scheduling people to come do demos, scheduling meetings, and having that space. A lot of times they step away from doing those same pre-show activities like that.
Out of embarrassment, we're not big
kind
enough.
Of like how
they're probably afraid to look a little amateurish.
We're not taking our best here. It's just a little backdrop in a space.
It's a reminder, but
it's not about that. It's about the face-to-face with somebody.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's not about the size of the booth. It's about what you do with the booth. It's about the
fight in the dog, right? Not the size of the dog, the fight in the dog.
Yeah, when we were at Exhibitor, we were asking everybody, why are you thankful for trade shows? And the most common response that we got, almost everybody said, business is still done with a smile and a handshake.
Yeah.
And when you're going to a trade show and taking, a huge 20 by 40 or whatever, you're going to fill that space with a bunch of stuff. And then there's a bunch of stuff to look at, a bunch of stuff to be distracting.
And let's just face it, people act like our clients don't care about their small shows. They're spending money, they do. But when they really size it up, do you spend the same amount of effort in planning in your thought process for those 3 10 by 10s as you do the 1 20 by 40 booth you go to? And they're all going to look at you and nod no.
Right.
Why not? They might be the winners. You might make more from those 4 shows and more leads and get the one big, new, entryway into Costco that you've been trying to get to. That was a meeting I just had a little while ago with someone trying to get into a $150 million SKU in Costco. Right. But, is that might be that one that puts it over the edge and you're worried because it's a small booth. No, that buyer just happened to be at that event and is always looking for new product at that event.
The moral of the story here is big or small, put thought into why you're going.
There you go.
Thank you for listening to Creative Spaces Podcast. For more information about Highway 85 Creative, visit us at highway85creative.com.